Got it.
All right, guys, what's up? Welcome. I'm going to screen share this and we are going to get it started tonight. So, thank you guys for jumping in with us. Um,
Is that Tom? Is that for me? I see like a half screen. Okay, now I see the full screen.
now you
Nice,
got it. All
nice,
right, boom. There we go.
nice.
Look good on your end, Peter.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, Peter, I'm going to let you go first, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and like what you do when it comes to the world of books and publishing.
Well, I'm just a kid from the South Bronx. Grew up, came from Puerto Rican Italian, and my teacher told me I can't read. My grammar sucks. Matter of fact, if you hear me talk a lot, it's like it's bad. But I've always had a dream. Like in '86, I wanted to do books. Took me 20 years. Took me 20 years to do a book. Like I literally started working for a publishing company, and I became the major top, like the top publisher. And I'll talk. I think it's one of my YouTubes. I talked about how I beat out like the number one publisher, but I didn't publish a book. So I finally published a book because I've always wanted to do a book. Like literally when I was in studying in university, like in 1989, I actually did like a little pamphlet. Back then I don't know if you remember those little books, and I like had my name on it and all that. So, and then my dad got sick, moved to Orlando, and started working for a publishing company. I was working with the radio station before, and this company owned a publishing division, took over, and you know, just fell in love with writing, just fell in love with publishing. I was talking to Miss Savage today at the little hub, and I told her like 98% of people are authors, the other 2% are writers. I can't write to save my life, but I have an idea, I have a concept. Ernest Hemingway, Stephen King, Wagner, like all those great writers, they could write, but that's 1%. We're authors. I think most of us here are authors that some could write more, some could write less, some could write better, but we all have a story to tell. And since then, man, I've been privileged and honored to, published, not write, published over, a thousand plus authors, and launched my company about 6 years with my partner Mimi at the peak of the pandemic, and we saw our company shoot up to 300% because everybody was home writing and getting that steady check. So, but it was good. So, but since then, I partnered up with Tommy about 2 years, and we've done a lot of great things together. And Tommy's actually, I've been in publishing since 2012, I think, the end of 2011. Tommy's been it longer, but I'll hand it off to my man, the guru himself, Tommy.
So, what's up, guys? A lot of you guys on here know me. If you don't, pastor at Crossover Church, hip hop artist, and author. And I didn't think I was ever going to be an author like Peter. I grew up in Philly and was not good at grammar, was not really that great at English. And people started telling me as the ministry grew, like, you need to write a book. And I'm like, nah, I'm a rapper. I rap. That's what I do. Like I'm not an author. I'm not a writer. But then I started to get invited to write different articles and invited to write some chapters in some books eventually. And then like there was some book offers that I had, like some book deals that were coming before me to share our story and write about, document what was happening. And so I got my first book deal. We're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later because there's a difference between like traditional publishing and hybrid publishing and self-publishing. We're going to talk about all that. So I've ventured into all of them now, and I'm going to tell you where I'm at. I went from traditional publishing to starting my own publishing company, and I love that because I am in full control of all the content creatively, when it comes out, how it comes out, the artwork, which is very important to me as an artist. But fast forward, like I've written 7 books now. And after I did the first one, it took me a while to write my second one. I'm like, I didn't feel like I was an author, you know. But by the time I did my second one and third one, I started to get into a rhythm and a flow. And now I know I'm a writer. I'm an author. I can put books out, and I've gotten better and better at it. So it's a muscle that you have to work on, and it grows over time. And you find your rhythm and your flow. And I really enjoy writing now. I love it. And my last 2 books were actually bestsellers with the help of my guy Peter Lopez from Publified Press. Let me just say this about him. He's like a publishing guru. I always learn stuff from him all the time, just from watching his Instagram. Just you follow him on Instagram and you'll learn stuff about publishing. This guy's kind of always on the cutting edge of what happens, whether it's NFTs or now it's AI. We'll talk about that a little bit tonight as well. But that's a little bit about us, so you just know who we are. I've written 7 books. Peter has published over 1,000. So we know a little bit what we're talking about when it comes to putting books together. And I just have a passion to help people get stuff done that God's called them to do. And this is just one of those things, because people ask me all the time, oh man, how do I write a book? You've written books. Like, how do I? So that's why we're here tonight, to kind of talk about that a little bit. So, but Peter, this is one of your favorite quotes, man. So talk about that, bro. If you can see it, can you see it? Peter, you're muted, bro. You're muted. We got to unmute. You muted yourself. You got to unmute yourself.
Yeah, you unmuted me. No one
There we
puts
go.
baby in the corner. That was my fault. If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. We all have, I love Toni Morrison, but we all have a story to tell. And sometimes I'll talk to authors, and they're like, well, you know, I'm too young, I'm too old. And I'm like, no, man, even at your age, you have a story. I literally spoke to a kid he was 17 years old. I want to write, I don't know what to write. I said, well, write about, you know, what it takes to be a 17-year-old, because, you know, for the next million years, there's going to be a generation that's going to go and be 17 years old. So we all have a story to tell, some great ones, some bad ones, some that have yet to be told. But I think in every moment we have, you know, we have to write the stories ourselves. So that's important.
Awesome. Here's another one. Read that one for us, Peter.
Great books help you understand, and they help you feel understood. There's a difference, right? Knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom is like, comes from above, I believe. It comes from experiences. It comes from like pain. It comes from struggle. You can't have wisdom without going through something hard and great in your life. But knowledge also comes from understanding and reading and acquiring stuff. So there are people that have wisdom that don't have knowledge, and there's people that have knowledge that don't have wisdom. But to be truly understood, a book will pretty much validate all you have and verify what what you've become.
All right. So who is this webinar for? If you're here tonight, I believe you got a message inside of you. If you've taken the effort to go ahead and register, click on it, open your email like we talked about, because literally there's, I think, about 65 people that signed up tonight, and we've got 27 on here so far. And those of you that are watching this on the replay that missed it, hope you finally opened your email. So shout out to you. But it really, this is for people of all walks of life. I believe, like, you know, I don't want to say everybody has a book in them, but I believe most people do. You know, everybody's not called to write a book, but I believe almost everybody has a message inside of them that God can use them. So whether you're on here and I know we got some people on here that are barbers. Shout out to my guy, Max. I know we got people that are on here that are therapists. We got people that are on here that are artists, people that are entrepreneurs. You got all kinds of people on here that have different stories, life experiences. And so, like, this is for you. We want to help you guys. But here's the thing. A lot of us make excuses. And Peter actually wrote a book about that. Peter is an author too. We didn't mention that. So I do want to give a shout out to Peter's book. So tell them about your excuses book, Peter.
Benjamin Franklin said, if you want to become an expert, write a book. And I am a guru. I am like Thanos. I am like Superman in excuses. Like I'm the king of excuses. So because I'm a king of excuses, I wrote a book. And this was an old book. Good Lord, this was like 12 years ago. We are launching the new one. This was more religious. Now the new one is entrepreneurship. And if you notice, Tommy's a pastor. I'm an entrepreneur, but we both have, you know, we both have great love and faith, right? But this is not about that. But this book, it had to do with, like, if you have to justify if y'all want to write something, a great quote, and this is mine. If you have to justify your reasons more than once, then they become an excuse. So while I was at a publishing company, I kept justifying, well, I haven't written a book because I'm too busy getting you guys published. And eventually a lady of like 82 years old said, that sounds like the biggest crock of excuse I've ever heard in my life. And I started the new trend. 2 pages a day will get you published right away. And within like 2 months, I got a real good editor. I got a better editor. I got a great editor, and I got my book out. And the book has done, guys, listen, you don't write a book to make money, right? Because if you come with that intention, you're gonna fail, right? There's some books that I have published, and I'm like, yo, this book, you're gonna be like flying, jets. This book is gonna sell like crazy, and no one buys it. Then I've done books that I'm like, it's it's a cool, and it sells like gangbusters. You write a book to become the expert. It opens up a 25% window in your business. It validates who you are, and it leaves a legacy. So that's why. But the book has done a lot for me. It opens up doors that you can't open up yourself. When Oprah Winfrey invites someone, most of the time, she's like, here's Tommy, best-selling author of, a Focus. They usually like to invite people that write books. So it's valid. So, I'm yapping here. You just tell me to shut up. So
Don't make excuses. Be quiet. So listen, if you hang on till the end, I'm gonna email you guys a ebook of my book Rebuild, and that was officially like my second book that I came out with, and it was traditionally published through InterVarsity Press IVP. So I had a book deal on that. Cool thing is they gave me the rights back to the book 2 years ago, and we redid the cover because I hated the cover on the other book, and I'm a creative, and the cover means a lot. So my graphic designer came up with that cover. I gave him a few ideas. And I didn't want to put my face on it, but when he came up with that one, I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. And I hadn't had my face on any other book. So I did it on that one. And that book, we actually give out a physical copy if you come to Crossover Church for the first time. And it tells a story how we rebuilt an old Toys R Us building in the middle of the hood. And it's a miracle story. And then it's based on the book of Nehemiah from scripture, how we rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem. And so there's a lot of biblical stuff in there. It weaves our miracle story in, and it gives you guys as the reader, like, we're all in rebuilding seasons at different points. It gives a lot of tools. So stick around to the end. I'm going to send you guys a link of that. So
yeah. And Tommy, I'll send out a free book template in a webinar that we do. Kind of give you a framework of how to create your book. So
we're going to give you that too. So those will be 2 freebies that you get. So yeah, we're only going to be about maybe 30 minutes more. So hang around. Yeah. It's not going to be that long. We're going to be done. We're going to try to be done in less than an hour. But here's 5 reasons why you should write a book before this year is over. Because listen, we decided to do this right in the middle of the year. It turned into July yesterday. Can you believe it? It's July. The year is halfway over. So if you've been wanting to write a book and you're just like, to be real, you've been procrastinating, like, now is the time. And so I want to give you a couple of reasons of why you should write it before 2024 is over. Because listen, if you start now, you could get it done to get it out by Christmas. And Peter, tell them what happens right around Christmas with book sales. So
the 2 biggest seasons to sell a book, and yes, Katie, your book is about to come out, is Christmas is the number 1 selling season, and it actually starts in September, October, November. We try to tell authors don't release the book on Christmas, right before or a little after, but 80% of books are sold during the Christmas season. So let's say you guys have an idea and you have a book, we can get going. Or if we miss it, the second biggest selling season is Easter. So you're going between both seasons. But of course, a book is going to go. The only thing that's going to outlast your life is a book, but it's always good to kind of have a target, right? Jim Collins is one of the best, books that I've read. It's called Good to Great, and he said the difference between hitting the target is to aim for it, right? Even though you miss the target, you get close, right? So it's like you got to have a target date. If not, you're like the children of Israel in the desert. You should be out in 2 weeks and you're there for 40 years, right? If you have a target, and you say, hey, I want my book to come out in December. And even if you miss it, you come close. So that's the key about aiming for the target. Like every day you have to start with the end in mind and say, this is the target I have for today. And even if I miss it, I come close. So that's why we believe Christmas is important for a good target.
Yeah, you got to set targets. If not, it's just going to keep getting pushed out and pushed out. And so here's what I want to say. One of the big reasons is I'm going to say that I'm put my pastor hat on, my shepherd hat. Like
Yeah.
somebody needs to hear your story. So I'm going to say like spiritually, like God can use a book to touch people in a way that is different. It hits different, and obviously, you can do an ebook, audio book, all that stuff, but that book format, man, God can really use that. And somebody needs to hear your story. I know every single one of you that are on this webinar tonight, you got a story. God has done some unique things in your life, and you've been through some hard times. You've been through some pain. You've been through some challenges, and God can use that, that mess that you're in to be like a message to get out to other people and really help change them and encourage them. And the wins, the W's you had in your life is not just for you, but it's to
Yeah.
help other people as well. So that's a huge reason. That's the spiritual reason, the calling of like why you should write a book. Don't put it off. If you're here, you've taken that effort, you've got something brewing inside of you, I believe. And so Peter, talk about this, man. You always talk about this to people. You've stressed it, and I know this is facts.
If you want, a book establishes your expertise, and there's that spiritual level of doing something great, but even your story can inspire people. Like my book has inspired entrepreneurs, business people to say, man, I got to stop making excuses and launch my business. I got to stop making excuses and at least walk a mile. I got to stop making excuses and change my mindset. But the most important part of it makes you an expert. We literally had a meeting today. Me and Tommy were talking, and we have two friends that are credit experts. Like one, they're both huge. One guy's like massive. I think one is out of California. I think one is out of New York, but they're very big and they know each other. And I published one book for a guy. He's called the Debt King, right? And the guy we were talking to, he's like, yeah, his business has jumped up a little bit more. And I was like, you know why? Because he wrote a book. You both have the same knowledge in the industry, but the guy that writes the book, they're going to believe him more. Matter of fact, it could not be as good as the knowledge you have, but it makes you the expert. And the book will go places you can't go. So that's important.
Yeah, Peter, I remember you told me that story. I met the guy. He came to the Innovation Summit. I think he was from Lakeland. And
Dan
didn't he do
Ortiz.
real estate? And he wrote a book for parents. And he would
Yep.
give
Dan Ortiz.
everybody that he would meet a copy of the book. And it wasn't even about the same field he was in, but most of them had, hey, do you have kids? Here, I wrote a book. And immediately it just connected those people to him like, oh, we want to buy our house from this guy, because he's got this book,
Yeah.
it helped us. And, so I mean, there's so many like angles. Even when you write a book, if it's not in the exact lane of what your industry is, it still can connect you with people to where they want to use you and become a client.
Yeah. And my book, believe it or not, guys, it had nothing to do with the banking industry, but I was getting like a lot of speaking engagements because of the book. So it does like I did all right selling it, but the speaking engagements and the doors it opened were like massive. So he would literally like he wrote a book called Kids in the Social Media World, and every time he was talking, he owned the mortgage business. He said, "Oh, here's the book." He's like, "Dude, my clothes went up 50% because they're like." Oh, wow, there's two people that sell mortgage, but this guy wrote a book and I could connect with my kids. So sometimes it just does other things for you. People say, you don't even have to write a book about your industry. I have authors that have written children's books, but it opens up other businesses for them. So that's something to know.
Yeah. And I know we got some people on here that want to write a children's book. I've talked to some of y'all. Here's the
Yeah.
other cool thing about it as well. I mean, let's be real, y'all. Inflation is a real thing. It's no joke the last couple years. And so, man, we got to be creative to just survive in the economy today. And it can become a new revenue stream. And for
Yeah.
me, my books is absolutely another revenue stream that helps support my family. Yes, I do work at the church, but I intentionally keep my salary lower there because I want to be a blessing to the church, not a burden. And I
Yeah.
rely on some other streams of income with me, my books, my merch, my speaking, and just different things that I do entrepreneurially. And this has become a great stream with my books. I'm regularly getting deposits in my account from Amazon, from Audible, and then obviously when I'm going and speaking, like this past weekend, I was in Houston and sold a bunch of books, and it's a blessing, but it can become a new revenue stream. And like Peter said, you may not like be able to quit your job because of this, but it can be another supplemental income that can come in as another stream, and yet it's being a blessing to so many different people
Yeah.
as well.
You can make maybe 20 different types of revenue stream with a book. Ebook,
Yeah.
audiobook, webinars, master classes, courses. You can do a lot with the book. So
Coaching programs, subscription
coaching, yeah.
programs, just people that do all kinds of stuff that builds off of the book that can launch all those different things. So talk about this one with growth, Peter.
Listen, writing sucks. So it really challenges you. It changes you and it helps you grow. Like it really, you start to. It's the most powerful thing. I start to talk to authors because sometimes you have to go. It's impossible to go forward without understanding what happened behind you. And a lot of times we have to we do stories of people that have been molestation, rape, jail, murder, betrayal, been, just mistreated. And a lot of times, we have to tell them, hey, let's go into that part. And now when they have to go back, sometimes they start to cite, I've heard, and, I've heard hundreds of authors tell me, man, that book healed me. That book changed me. Some books messed up relationships because you had to tell the truth, and some books mend the relationships, but it really changes you because now you're really transparent. Like the book will speak for you. Can't speak for the book. Like I told people, we said it earlier, a book is judged by its cover, so you want to make sure that cover's popping. You want to make sure the editing is good, because you can't be at a Barnes and Noble corner be like, hey, hi, come over here. Here's my book. Because it might be in like 30 books. So you're not ubiquitous. You're omnipresent. So the book will speak for you. And it's important that, they understand what's being told in the book.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that and say, when you write, it does stretch you in some ways and you learn new stuff. You grow, especially for a lot of books. You got to do some research on it. For my latest book, Gotta Be the Shoes, it was a fun book to write, but there was a lot of research stuff that I had to do, a lot of quotes, a lot of citations of different articles and stats and different things about the history of shoe culture and different elements that I pulled out. And even some biblical stuff that I was tying in with it to, there's some research, there's some study, and I learned a bunch of new stuff, and I grew, my knowledge grew. And so, writing a book, even for yourself as the author, stretches you and helps you grow and become more knowledgeable. You maybe already knew about the topic, but as you really dive in and go deeper, it's some good stuff. And so, and here's the last main reason, y'all, why you should write a book: legacy. Legacy. And listen, I'm thinking about legacy more than ever now because I had a big birthday. I had a big birthday last year. I'm officially, if you didn't know, 50. I know it doesn't look like it. I still got on my hair. Praise God. Been taking care of my.
Oh, thanks a lot. I'm 52. I guess in 2 years from now,
Sorry,
you're going to
Peter.
get
Sorry.
bald.
Peter's been stressed. He lost all his hair a long time ago. But we're both 50 now. And so, man, we're thinking about legacy and what are things that can leave an impact beyond when we're here. And books are one of those things. I mean, my very first book came out in 2007, and I had people this past weekend when I was in Houston come up to me and tell me that they got my first book. And that was, 17 years ago that book came out. That was a minute ago. I had people hit me up and say, I read your book when I was in jail. And, my first book, and so when you write a book, it's going to outlive you. It's going to be available. You're going to touch people or reach people that you'll never even know until someday, I believe in eternity, we'll have people walking up to us in heaven being like, hey, I had your book. Man, that really helped me through this time when boom, 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 boom was going on. So it leaves a legacy, man.
No, and that's the most important part. Like a book will speak for you the next 1,000 years, man. Like it would really literally, push you to a place that you can never go to. So that's important, man.
Yeah. So let's be real though. So we shared those 5 reasons why we can all agree and say, yeah, I need to write a book. Those are great reasons, right?
Yeah.
But there's obstacles. And so what are 5 obstacles you got to overcome this year to push through and finish? Because you can get on here and get inspired, but like you've got to realize there's going to be these things that are gonna pop up. First of all, is doubt. Peter, man, talk about doubt a little bit, bro.
Bro, listen, you can't, you can't doubt. The hardest thing is people don't doubt themselves. They doubt what people are going to say about them, or they're insecure, right? You
Yeah,
really can't worry about that, because people are always going to have doubt for you, and they're going to have you just got to believe in yourself one way or another, right? I just had a guy, his book came out, and let me tell you something. I'm going to be clear. Uh, there's no perfectly edited book. Stephen King will tell you, and whether you like his books or not, he'll tell you on the next print run, let me know which were the mistakes. He's made $100 million, and he's one of the best writers we've had when it comes out. His stories are crazy, but he's a conversational writer, and he will tell you, if you find a mistake, let me know, and I'll change in the next print run. There's a 8%, 8 to 10% error rate on every 10,000 words that's written. That means a book that has 10,000 words, you're going to have 300 or 400 mistakes, right? So I guess I was off of the numbers, maybe 800. So you can't doubt, don't worry what anyone says. The key is this: the best way to get rid of doubt is to find the expert, right? True wisdom is knowing your limitations. So you got to find someone that knows more than you, and that'll help you get rid of the doubts. So
yeah, and I'm gonna just say spiritually. On the other hand, like here's the pastor hat again. It's going to come on a little bit tonight at times. Listen, the battle is right here in our minds.
mm-hmm.
It talks about it in Ephesians chapter 6. Like this is a battle against flesh and blood. And let me tell you, it's not a battle against flesh and blood. It's a battle that's in the spirit realm. It's in our minds. That's where the enemy starts at. And if he can get you to doubt and not do the things that God has called you to do, whether it's a book or it's starting a ministry or a business or launching something or going to serve someone or help someone, doubt is one of the biggest things that he plays on. And when it comes to particularly this, we're talking about a book. Like a lot of people don't do this because they start to get all these doubts, like, no one's gonna read it, no one's gonna. What if anyone, like Peter, like you said, like what if someone doesn't like it, or what if and we can just doubt. Listen, I'll be honest. There's been moments where I've doubted. Pastor Tommy, that's written several books, done several albums, and I'm working on a new project. Like, is this going to be as good as the last one? Is anybody going to connect with this? There's moments where our minds can begin to play with us a little bit, and that can slow us down or derail us, distract us, stop us from writing. And so you got to get over your doubt. You got to plug in with God. You got to plug in with the word. You got to put your armor on every single day, because the spirit realm, man, some of it starts right here in your mind. The enemy will play tricks on you for real. So doubt is a big one. Here's another big one, y'all. You can struggle to solidify what is the idea for the book. And I love this slide right here because I'm a creative, and that looks like my mind. there's all these different things. Me and Peter both have a little bit of ADD. He has more than me though, because you'll see that.
You got some ADD. I got like high level HD.
You got high level, right? So, but in our minds, I think creatives, we have a little ADD, ADHD, whatever. Like there's a lot of different ideas, and a lot of you have ideas for the next 5 books. Some people, I want to write a book on this and this and this and this, and well, maybe this, and like a lot of people struggle to solidify what is that idea for the book. And it's not bad to have ideas, because guess what? Once you do your first one, those other ideas you have, maybe that'll be your second book or your third book, or you're going to write more books in the future, hopefully and prayerfully. But what is the first one? That can be a huge obstacle. You got to seek God and say, God, what is this first one that you want me to put out? If you're a first-time author, if you're a second-time author and you're on here, like, hey, what's the next thing? And so there's been times like this book in particular, Frames. I I came up with the idea to do this book in 2016 when I was on sabbatical. I was I was in a cabin in the mountains of Pennsylvania in the Poconos by myself with no Wi-Fi, no cell service. I had to drive down to this town to get cell service. I was just me and the Lord and a journal. And I came up, God dropped the idea for this book about perspective. And it originally was going to be called Lenses. And I had the outline for it. I had scripture, I had some stories, some creative like stuff. I was excited about it. I'm like, I'm going to start on this book next year. And then next year, we launched Love Our City. And God was like, nope, put that on the shelf. And you're going to write a book about Love Our City because people need to learn about this. You'll come back to that other idea in the future. And so,
Yeah.
I thought that idea was gone. It was dead. And then the pandemic happened. And in 2021, God was like, pick that up again, that whole lenses thing. Don't call it lenses, call it frames. Because perspective right now, so many people are struggling. They're looking at all the craziness. And it was the perfect time to write the book and to launch it was during that time. This came out like in 2022. Peter helped me with this, was an Amazon bestseller, touched a lot of people. We did some creative packaging for it. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But a lot of people, that's a big obstacle. What is the idea for the book? So you got to hone in and figure out what is the message for right now. And so the king of excuses, talk about this one.
Procrastination, man. It is, but the word "but" cancels everything you said before. It's like, I love you, but I like you, but they're good friends. She's a good friend, but actually Jade is one of our good publicists, and John, and we were talking about that, like, hey, they're awesome, but, and I'm like, well, the but cancels everything before, and procrastination is the but. Like, I want to do the book, but I got to do this thing first. I want to do the book, but I got to put away these boxes. You just got to compartmentalize that and stop procrastinating. Like, tomorrow will become, 24 hours will become 7 days. 7 days will become, 30 days. 30 days become a year. It took me 89,000 minutes, for me to write my book, 237 months, 3,000 weeks, like, because of procrastination. So you got to start today. And, it's not perfect. You really just need to start writing or start getting a good editor around you to help you finish it. But there's no more excuses. There's no more to get the book done. And you want to find a good coach to kind of keep you on your timelines, right? And they'll kind of give you some deadlines, and say, okay, we need it, and let's get at least chapter 1 done. Because the best way to start is to write it down, write the idea down. And I think that book template is going to help some people out. So that's key.
Definitely. And then a lot of big obstacles for people not to do it is they don't have any idea how to get published at all. And so, Peter, talk about you're the publishing guru, the expert. I'm learning about it more and more every day. But talk about the ways.
We've done some great things together. So there's 3 types of levels of publishing, right? There's traditional publishing, there's hybrid publishing, and there's self-publishing, right? Most people will kind of, like, when we first started, it's like, well, are you going to give me a check? Or don't steal. The worst words are like, don't steal my story. I'm like, ain't nobody stealing your story. It's like, so traditional publishers will you have to have a literary agent. It's pretty hard to have. You got to have somewhat of a big name or a specific story. But what a traditional publisher will do is they'll take your book, and most of the time they'll do some type of deal. And Jade, we know about that, with William Morris, you might get a 360 deal, but they're going to take everything. They're going to take your rights. They're going to take your royalty. They're going to take your name, your likeness. We had an author that had, 4 or 5 million members on TikTok, and they're like, okay, we need to manage that, and you need to do that. So a traditional publisher is good because that's the Good Old Boys network. They have a specific network that they have, but eventually, over the last 7 years, traditional publishing has kind of faded away. It's not like it used to be. Matter of fact, we did a book for a major celebrity. I can't mention his name, but he's in trouble now. But he did the book. They gave him an advance, right? But he never saw the advance. The advance is kind of like against his royalties, and he's all upset because he's got to connect BET, Good Morning America. His publicist has got to call all these people. So people think because they get a traditional deal, they're out there doing book signings. No, the publisher doesn't do book signings for you. Your publicist does book signings. And guess who you got to pay is your publicist.
Yep.
So a lot of times you get this type of advance. Ryan Holiday has sold 10 million books. Ryan Holiday is one of the best, self-help authors. And he literally said last year is the first time he saw a recovery in his 250 million. Because what happens is when they give you an advance, they roll it over, they roll it over, they roll it over. It's in perpetuity. So that's traditional. That's pretty hard to get. Tommy had a traditional deal. I was offered a traditional deal, but I walked away. The next one is what we do is a hybrid publishing. It is a partnership of self and traditional, where you don't need the traditional guys anymore. We kind of create your own imprint, your own image. We do everything they can do. You own everything. Or a lot of times, if it's a great story, there's some stories that I will invest in, and some I'm like, well, let's help you out. So hybrid is kind of like they won't know if it's traditional or not. Self is, sometimes I'll talk to authors. I'm like, I don't think we can help you or get you there, but try Kindle or try, going to Amazon, which is tough. And you might run you a few $1,000s, 3, 4, just to get it, the book done. Don't put it up there like nothing. But, now you're on Amazon and Jeff Bezos out there flying spaceships. He's having fun because, Amazon takes a lot from you, but you can do self-publishing. And if you do self-publishing route, you really, you could still do it because maybe it's not your budget, but you want to get a great editor. You don't want to skim on that because bookstores will know if it's a self-published book, and they don't like self-published books. So there's specific rules you want to know. If you're a self-publisher, Google Chicago Manu style. And when you edit your book and you format that book, you want to format it and edit according to those standards. Because if not, a bookstore is not going to get you. So there's a lot of things that, I tell people, cheap is expensive. And a lot of times I got people say, I don't got the money. I had a guy literally every day I called him, right? He was a cool friend of mine, called him 3 straight days. He's driving through Starbucks, getting a latte, getting a scone, and getting a sandwich. And I'm like, dude, how many times you do this a week? I said, I do this 5 times a week. I said, it's really 17 cents to make your own coffee. And, he laughed about it, but I was like, yo, if you stop doing Starbucks, you might, come up with some money to get your book done. So it's our priority. Sometimes I know budget is important, but the best investment you can make is on yourself. So I try to tell people, try to go a little more a hybrid because that's what's going to help you out. Then when they see the book, it doesn't look like it was made in some garage, So those are the 3: traditional, hybrid, and self-publishing.
Yeah. And I'll just throw this in. I did traditional publishing with my first 2 deals. Like Peter said, it's really hard because you have to have a name and a following. I had somewhat of that, but I'm not a really big guy. So I did get an advance. I got a check, which was nice in the beginning. It wasn't that much. To me, it was still a lot. But at the end of the day, I never saw any money after that because the recoup, it's just impossible. You have to sell so many books to recoup to begin to get a royalty. And then the royalty is only $1.40 every book. So they keep the majority of all the money. And the other thing with traditional publishing, if you were even able to get a deal, you have to, when you give them the transcript, the book doesn't come out for 12 to 18 months. I was talking to my friend Jerry Flowers on Saturday. He's got his first book coming out. He turned it in a couple months ago. It's not coming out till the end of 2025, like a year and a half away. And so it's just that's the other thing.
And you have no input. They don't care what you say. They don't care what you say. They don't.
Yeah, so I love now that I have my own publishing company. I work with Peter on some of those things to help with editing and launching it and different things. And so have my own imprint, which is called Translation Leadership. And, anybody sees it and, it's got my logo. I got the ISBN. I mean, everything is professional. No one can tell what the difference is. My latest book was a hardback. I mean, quality is about who the designers are, who your editors are. And man, it could be just as good or better than the traditionally published. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But here's the last one, y'all. And then we're going to get ready to wrap up in a few minutes. We'll take some questions, but you might say, well, I don't know. A lot of people don't do it because they don't know where to start. So hopefully tonight gives you some, a template, and we're going to email that template to you that'll help you get started. It'll kind of give you a roadmap of some things, you need to do to begin to put in place. So Peter, you want to add anything to that?
I think you got to start. I think if everyone's here, there's a lot of people that are starting already. Some are almost done. Dan, we got it. We're almost done, right? Book is a process, man. Like literally, it's ups and downs, but is just take a piece of paper today. Like you got to visualize it. You got to really look at it, and on a piece of paper, write your title, your subtitle, and your name, and put best-selling author. And put that in the mirror, and then give it to your kids, and give it to your husband and your wife, your daddy, whatever it's called, and just say, yo, you got to hold me accountable, and you have to visualize that, and you really just start to even write. We don't want it handwritten. We want it on a laptop because we need to format it. But even if you got to handwrite it now, and then always have a note, because when you start to write as a flow, and I when I started writing excuses, like 3 a.m, I was like, PES, program excuse syndrome. That sounds cool. And I was like getting up and looking for the notes. So you start to get ideas. And this is the best advice I can tell you. Write what you know. Don't write what you don't know, because it's going to come out sounding stupid, right? Write what you know. Yeah. If you're good at one thing, then write that one thing. This is what I want to write about. I don't write what you don't know. Write what you know, and start today.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, hey, me and Peter have been working together for a couple of years, and this was last year. And we have so many people that ask us all the time, like, how do we write a book from A to Z? And obviously on a 1-hour webinar, we can only kind of give kind of the high level view, but we did actually put a course together. And so there is something, if you want to go farther, no pressure. But we did put a course together, and it's called the 6-Figure Book Launch Masterclass, and how to create, how to launch, how to scale your book business to 6 figures. And again, you might not make 6 figures, or you might not make you're probably not going to make 6 figures just off of the book, but there's all these other things that, launch off of it. Even like Peter said, it makes you an expert. It can open up all kinds of doors. There's people I know that even you, bro, like you had speaking opportunities that were 5-figure speaking opportunities. Yes. Just because you have this book and people started to invite you in. And so there's all kinds of other things that can come out of writing a book. And in this course, we give all the details of kind of how to get there. It's a couple hours long. It's a lot of content, a lot of material. You can watch it.
We had a blast doing that, but it was,
yeah, we had fun. And it's filmed professionally, 2 camera angles. Our editor did an amazing job. We invested a lot into it, putting it together, but it just kind of helps when people are like, hey, give me all the details of how I put a book together. And it's like, it's not 1 hour. It's not one conversation. There's a lot of little pieces. And so we really thought out like all the details. Here's a couple things from it. So one, we did talk about how to start a writing schedule. And I did say in the email, I wanted to give you a little bit of this. So here's something that I do. I look at word count. If I know, so my Gotta Be the Shoes book was 30,000 words. I knew I was going to write 30,000 words. So I said, man, I need to write, every time I sit down, I want to write 500 words, maybe 1,000 words if it's a good day. Sometimes if I'm on fire, maybe even 1,500 words. So if I can keep doing that, on a basis of just a couple times a week, think about it. If I'm writing 1,000 words every week, maybe 1,500 words a week, I'm going to get my book done in maybe, 5-6 months. And it's doable, but you have to take those small chunks and find what that rhythm is. Then the book talks about best editing practices, gets into more details on all that. This is a big one. Peter, talk about this, because you guys helped me with all this big time.
Listen, so copyright isn't book rights. People don't get that. They're like, oh, I copyright my book. You can literally just copyright your book for $50 to $100, I think. So you want to copyright your book. Honestly, guys, it's, back then when they had typewriters, my dad had a typewriter. He'll write it out. If someone stole the manuscript, it's hard to prove who wrote it. Now with just emails, it's really like there's a digital print, so it's hard for someone to steal your stories. But it's still good to copyright it, especially in the US. You're only protected in the United States, right? So we do copyright, and then we also do Library of Congress. The ISBN number is the International Standard Business Number. So you see that number right there, the ISBN. That's not the barcode. That is like your whatever. So it's kind of your Social Security. So when a bookstore looks at your book, they look at the ISBN numbers. I think Bowker can sell you like 10 of those for 300. And then they assign you a barcode with the ISBN number. So you want to make sure you do those things first. If you're looking to publish your book, copyright is the first part. You want to copyright the book, but a lot of times you don't have to copyright it right away. You want to copyright it right before you publish it, because we have to put the copyright number. I mean, me and Tommy have this. The copyright number goes right inside the book, and it's registered. So I don't know where's my copyright number, but it's there. So and it's you copyright it under your name. So that's important.
In the course, like we walk through that in detail. There's links inside of the course as well, where you can get all that stuff and sign up for it. And then of course we teach you how to format it, properly launch it on all these different platforms. What does it take to do that? Give you all the links, all the details on that. So there's some bonuses with it though. This is a great bonus that Peter helped me, and I became an Amazon bestseller, and on my last 2 books with his help. So
no, but you're a 3-time bestseller. You're a 2-time, and then you also became bestseller in your audiobook. That's not, that's
true.
Yeah,
so book too. So we get into the details of that, and that's receipts right there. And if you don't know who Craig Rochelle is, he's the pastor of the biggest church in America, and he leads the Global Leadership Summit. And my book, for not just for an hour or 2, but I mean it was for like a week. My book was #1 on the charts on new religious leadership. And then when my Gotta Be the Shoes book came out, it was #1 on a couple different charts as well. And so there's some strategies that you could do. You could spend money on it, and there's also some strategies that we give you where you could actually do it for free. And so we talk about that.
Don't take advice from people that haven't done it. It's funny that people that haven't done something want to tell you how to do it, but they haven't done it. We've done it.
Here's a big one. Peter's getting all into this. Talk about the second bonus we talk about. This is a new video that we actually,
the last course had the
NFTs.
2 years of NFTs, but things pivoted. NFT is still very important because it's a digital form of authenticity. And I think that software is going to be important, but people just started doing the apes and monkeys and all these little things and all this. But AI is so I want you to hear something very well. And I'm going to be a very hard advocate for it, because there's even Google, Amazon. You cannot, I want you to hear this now. When we upload a book, we've had 6 books flagged already. And people are like, oh, I didn't use AI. Oh, but I used AI to write the bio. Yeah. Amazon is on like a Jason massacre, because AI written books have been disbanded. Plagiarism, because what AI does, it takes from sources that have already been written. Copyright infringement, right? Unoriginality, is that even a word? Unoriginal. And it's taken from sources that are already done. So people that AI is not going to replace. There's people that understand how to use AI. So I will usually use AI for data, because when I remember Encyclopedia Britannica, some of y'all 2-year-old or you needed resource books, right? You would go to the library and you'll get like 7 books to look up the sources. So AI is good for sourcing, it's good for data, but you cannot, listen to me, you can't even copy and paste it. Do you think Elon Musk, who helped create ChatGPT, and Bill Gates, who's the biggest investor in ChatGPT, and Bard, that is the creator of Google, and then Amazon's going to come out with a robot that's going to kill everybody on AI? You think they want you to go outside the lines? So you got to understand AI is very important, and we're going to start talking about that in the book publishing world, how to understand it, how to use it. Even right now, when you upload something on Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, they will tell you, is this AI generated? And if you say yes, no, it's not AI generated, and it was, you're like infringement, and they could even take down your account. Like someone had like 3 million followers and they were using AI and their account just got closed down. So you got to understand the rules, because there's a whole different game when it comes to AI.
Here's the third bonus. We talk about book launch party secrets. I have had 2 very successful book launches that I've done on my last 2 books. Really creative stuff. Also did an online book launch party as well. And so yeah, we get into the details of how to do that, how to make it successful, how to make some noise, how to leverage as much as you can in different relationships, podcasts, all that stuff. That's on there. And then the last bonus number 4.
Quick, Tommy, on that one,
Oh,
you don't need a bookstore to launch your book. You could do an event that
yep.
might be more successful than trying to do it at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
way better to do an event versus trying to do it at a
yeah,
bookstore. You can add a lot of cool things because my book launches weren't boring. They were fun. There was a
yeah.
concert, there was a podcast interview. At my last one, we did a sneaker show. And so like it created a buzz. Everybody was talking about it. It was fun. It wasn't a boring, like, here, let me read chapter 1, some quotes for you. Like, people had fun. It was great. Um, Here's bonus number 4 is you'll get a one-on-one coaching call as well with me and Peter. Kind of walk through after you watch the course. You'll be able to pick our brains. We'll be able to walk you through some stuff, any questions you have. And the other thing too, we didn't even put on there, but we'll talk about creative packaging. And that's something that I if you haven't seen my
The
Gotta Be
man right
Shoes,
there.
it comes in a custom shoebox, and it's like a piece of art. I'm proud of it. It was like God gave me that idea. But that packaging has sold that book. Everybody wants to just get the package, and there's sneaker paper in it. It's full color. There's a masterclass with it. So I'll talk about the details of like how you can creatively package something to stand out in the crowd. And so we definitely we talk about that and walk through all that. So that's the course. And so I know the question is, okay, so how much does it cost? Well, initially
$1 million.
there's $1 million. It's thousands of dollars worth of information and content. And we've been selling it for $9.97. Last year when we first launched it, we did a webinar similar to this, and we did it we gave it to people for $4.99. So like half price. Like, hey, you guys were on this webinar, it's half price. We've done some updating on the course a little bit with the AI stuff and a few things. But guys, we know like the economy is challenging. Like inflation has been serious. And really at the end of the day, our heart is we're not making a bunch of money off of this. It costs us a lot of money to make this and put it together. But at the end of the day, like we want to help people. Hey guys, I edited this video because Peter and I have an update. We decided that we were going to cut the cost of the course even more. So originally it was $9.97, which was a great deal. We had previously done it for $4.99, but we're now going to take $698 off, which is going to make the course only $299. So you're going to get all the information that we just talked about, which is going to help you create your book. It's going to help you launch it the best way, the proper way, and then even to scale your book business and tie in all kinds of other things. So it's incredible value that you guys are going to get for all this. Listen, our goal is to help you guys win. And so the description below on this video has the link for you to go get the course, and the coupon code that you need to put in to get the $698 off is actually $698 off, and you'll save $698. So go ahead. The link is down below in the description, and we will see you guys in the course. God bless you guys.